another one.
The title is How to Get Over Feeling Low About Being a QA/SDET, Software Development Engineer in Test. There is saying, I didn't choose testing, testing chose me. I have 2 years experience as an SDET/QA, and I feel bad for being an SDET/QA. Although I did automation, performance test, and bit of DevOps, I am feeling like I am very less when compared to developers. It's not about money alone, it's about respect. RESPECT. And interesting work. The constant disrespect and treatment of QA/SDET in software community is making me feel bad. I think that because at the end of the day, SDET/QA are going to test already written code. SDET also don't create. They work on existing code and automate the existing feature. I think that why maybe testing is not considered very lucrative, that's why people would prefer software engineering, data analytics, data engineering, or even product management because they're creating something new. Devs are developing a product, DevOps are creating pipelines and infrastructure, product owners are framing product, but I feel SDET/QA are doing something on the product. There is nothing new. I'm going to get teary-eyed for a second here. The career path for QA is also not as good as developers. Developers can become tech architects, principals, and engineering heads. But what's for QA? I don't know. What is for QA? I think very few have QA director kind of role. You have to switch to BA, product owner, manager, while devs can continue in the same career. Whenever there is cost cutting, QAs are easily the target because quality is subjective. Well, that's probably the first thing you said that's true. Sorry. I take that back. That was Manny who said it. All right, anyways. They can make devs and BAs do that. It may or may not be effective, but still, somebody can do it. I feel constantly unmotivated. I feel even I found a bug, it doesn't really have value because the devs are the one who's going to fix it. It's a thankless job whenever bugs come. QA would be called. Other times you just have to fight every time to get recognition. This is just my rant, and I have been feeling very unmotivated. This is just my rant, and I have been feeling very unmotivated and frustrated. So, what do you think about that? Huh? So I'm going to give my thoughts, but I'm going to ask the question first. For all those who have done QA for their career for past however long it is, do you agree with the sentiment? Do you believe that you are unappreciated, that they see you as worthless, easily replaceable, etc., etc., etc.? All right, let's put our 5 minutes up. So, That's interesting that you would feel that way because, like I just said, like I just said a little earlier, they keep asking me for a clone. So I don't know. Uh, and the thing about the QAs always being the first to go, I don't really think that's true unless you have oversaturated amount of QA. Like maybe you're, I don't know, maybe like I would see like the manual QA testers always be the first to go, but I think that before the explosion of boot camps, of course, but I think that the field for the SDETs and the QA engineers, that's hard, right? Like it's hard to come across good ones. Like you can definitely find people who know how to do it, but what I see happening the most is the lack of critical thinking. I think that so to be you guys, let me know if you disagree with this, right? Um, do do you think that this is like a software engineer or full stack developer reject? Like the way that this person sounds like that they get absolutely no recognition, all this type of stuff. It's like they really, 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 really wanted to be a web engineer or not web engineer, like a web developer or a software developer, and like they couldn't. And now they're like they feel like their only option to be close to software is QA. But like for me, like I love doing what I do. And as part of like, so it's funny because what I do, I do QA, of course, right? But I also do more. Like I'll set up infrastructure for testing, for reporting, right? To make the test like run better and set up environments. And I remember at one job, if you guys are familiar with the Rancher, I was like setting up the whole testing infrastructure where it'll run on different branches and all that type of stuff, and giving like showing the developers how to actually run the test on their local branch, how to run the test in Rancher, and then once they could verify that the regression tests are running before they kick the test off over to us, right? They verify that, and then they send it to us for us to actually test the new features, right? And then once we finish testing the new features, we run the regression test again, and like that. So I just don't see. I think either that, and plus, like you're only 2 years into it. Like how do you feel that way within 2 years into it? That I don't know. That's weird to me. But maybe you never wanted to do it in the first place. The way that it sounds, like you never really wanted to do it, and you just find yourself like you said, testing found you. I mean, I'll say this: I didn't really know much about QA. Like I think everybody does QA, but I didn't really know much about it before I actually got my QA analyst position. But then once I was offered do to do automation, oh, I owned it, right? I learned how to do so many different things, and I just owned it. Like, and I built out a team. Um, and at that time, right, I wasn't even like that well versed in Java, but I learned it and all that type of stuff. So I don't, I don't see that QA is unappreciated, right? Like I'll tell you this: at the company that I work for, there is a huge QA presence, like massive QA presence. And part of the requirements is that pretty much all QAs need to know some level of automation, right? It is a automation focused company with a very well respectful of QA. Um, the way that I always describe QA is as being the last line of defense, right? Um, does that mean that some bugs don't slip through? Of course, like there's always going to be bugs. There's bugs that you catch and that you know about that they might be in production that you need to fix. And there's bugs that are in production that you don't know about, right? But it might not be critical because customers can't get to it, but the bug still exists and it could come and bite you one day, right? But the just the idea of that create QA is unappreciative. You know what? When they get rid of all the QAs and then um, there starts to be like massive bugs left and right, then you'll see that that they are appreciated. They are like they're an essential part of the web design process. Unless, right, you're probably doing unless you're doing the waterfall method, then yeah, I would agree. Like in the waterfall method, like probably QA is not appreciated. They're just like, all right, we did all the work, now test it, and that whole cycle. I'm not a fan of the waterfall, but in Agile, if you believe that you are not appreciated as a QA, that is your own fault, because you have the opportunity to be actively involved in the outcome of the software, sharing your insight from a user perspective, from acceptance criteria perspective, all of that stuff. So if you are not involved, that is surely your own fault. All right. Let's see what my friends think about this as well. All right. So shout out to that. And if I was a little bit harsh on the answer, so be it. All right. So let's go back up and come back to that question. I'll come back to that one. And let's see. So Don says, well, if you find showstoppers, that could be the cost of that. That could be the cost of the company. It costs the company millions to fix. It feels real good. It sure does. You know, like so many times we find these bugs that that like if you were to deploy, it would be bad, right? So and like sometimes it happens too, but you're able to roll back and stuff like that. But it's crazy. All right. So let me see. It says startups with generic CRUD apps, maybe, but mission critical projects, QA is respected and required. 100%. 100%. Like totally required. The individual sounds like it's something they aren't passionate about. Exactly, Manny. Like that's what I see from it too. Like they don't like, you know, when you're not passionate about it, then it's gonna be like, yeah, you know, but like you said, if you're passionate about your craft, then you're going to own it. You know, you're going to own it, and you're going to like, it's not about. So everything, like every work, like everything that I've ever done, right? I didn't do it for somebody else. Like the way that I work, it wasn't for somebody else. It wasn't for like somebody to appreciate me or whatever. I did it for myself, like because of the quality that I want to produce. You know what I mean? It's not about like, oh, am I gonna get employee of the month? Like, wait, don't get me wrong. I have gotten employee of the month once or twice. But for me, that's not why I do it. It's just well, just to add as well, a not so humble brag. I'm like at when I was at like 4 to 5 months at my company, I came in as a runner up for their QA award. So, but anyways, to continue. Oh, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have. It's okay. It's okay. No pictures. No pictures. But like I don't do it for none of that, right? I do it because that's just the way that I work. I like to see. I just put my all into it. And what I always say, right? If you've been following me, my goal and what your goal should also be is to just add value, right? Add value, fill in the gaps where you see a gap, and then the value is going to be returned to you, right? One way or the other, it's going to be returned to you. All right. Let's see. And thank you, Manny. QA is so important and needed. And Don says QA saves users and the company. Exactly. Saves the users money, saves the company money, all of the above. All right. Thank you. All right, so let's finish that question and I'll read the other comments.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.
Enigmatic Joker.